I had a conversation, an interesting one for that matter, from a reader who raised concerns that why do I feel the need to focus on male experiences in domestic violence? That to focus on male experiences, it might be distracting from the real suffering of women. And in my prior videos, I did my best to explain this. And of course, in the book, throughout the book, if you have read it or you are about to read it, you realize that I also made the argument that domestic violence is a human rights issue, not a gender issue. And there's an entire chapter, chapter 5, which is dedicated to answering this question. So I try to answer it now in this way, and I hope that it is clearer because I think that this is an interesting conversation. The first reason why we have to talk about domestic violence, focusing on male experiences, is that it doesn't actually distract from female experiences. It rather strengthens the overall fight of domestic violence for three main reasons. The very first reason, let's be practical. Um, to focus on male experiences is not only a theoretical argument that it strengthens the overall fight of domestic violence in all its forms. Let's look at United Kingdom and New Zealand, how they have acknowledged for the most part that domestic violence also affect men. They have chosen to view it as a human rights issue. However, their approaches to solve the issue is significantly different. In the United Kingdom, for example, whenever you see male support services increasing, you also see a decline in support services for women. Now, we know that the conversation surrounding domestic violence is tilted in favor of women. And as a result, support services are flowing that way. Of course, support services should actually be designed to cater for the needs of women. That's not the argument. The argument, however, is that if you look at the support services that is even flowing to women, it is still hugely underfunded. Now, if both sides are hugely underfunded, the only thing is that male experiences are significantly hugely underfunded than female experiences. The solution cannot therefore be redistribution. The solution should rather be expanding support services to include everyone. And that is the approach of New Zealand. New Zealand from 2018, which I discussed in the book significantly, has chosen an expansionary approach in domestic violence. It recognizes domestic violence for what it truly is, a human rights issue. They've expanded their conversation about domestic violence, they've expanded their support services, and they've made it to be more inclusive. From 2018 till now, they have registered significant progress. Now, everybody across the gender spectrum, including children, are better protected. Now, that is the first reason we have to talk about male experiences in domestic violence. The second reason we have to talk about it is this. If we look at, for example, the 4th of July in the United States, how it's being commemorated. We also look about how the Rwandan genocide is being commemorated, the Jewish Holocaust, and other systems of oppression, like say apartheid and others that you might think of. Why are these countries or these groups talking about these experiences? It's for one reason. They are saying, never again shall we allow these atrocities from happening. It is for the sake of posterity. Now, if we view female experiences, that is what's actually happening there. Because it's being spoken about nationally and internationally, there are systems in place to make sure that never again should these experiences happen to women. And that is the approach. But the question becomes, when it happens to a man, how do we respond? It's rather met with minimization, denial, or silence. Because of this culture, when we see a man experiencing domestic violence, we view it rather as an isolated event. We don't see it as part of a broader pattern of behavior that needs support services, systems to be put in place both nationally and internationally to combat this kind of violence against men. That is the second reason we have to talk about it. The third reason, which of course I try to explore in the book again, is that our conversation about domestic violence is focused as a gender issue, not as a human rights issue, and as such, our conversation doesn't take into account some nuances. What do I mean by that? Let me focus on this one part. There are others, of course. We know that domestic violence is made up of the non-physical violence and the physical violence. They are interlinked, however, right? Wherever you see one, you see the other. As much as this is true, we also know that women are disproportionately more impacted by physical violence, while men are disproportionately impacted by non-physical violence. Now, to focus only on female experiences means that we are focusing only on one part of the problem, the physical violence. For us to understand the non-physical violence, how it functions, we need to look into the experiences of men. And come to think of it again, common sense tells us that if there's a problem and you focus on only one half and you ignore the other, the problem will keep on going on. So we need a comprehensive approach to better understand what domestic violence truly is. And it is a human rights issue affecting everyone across the gender spectrum, including both the physical and the non-physical. That is why we have to expand our conversation about domestic violence. It doesn't distract from female experiences. It actually, in reality, in practical terms, expands our understanding of domestic violence and tackle it comprehensively. Let us just look at New Zealand, for example. So I hope that I've answered your question in ways that it's better understood. And please keep the questions coming. And to better understand these conversations about domestic violence, please get the book. You can contact me directly or you can find it on Amazon. Thank you very much, and please let us keep the conversation going. Goodbye.